What's something people don't realize will kill them instantly? Brake checking a semi. We had a local case where a road rager brake checked an old man to a complete stop in the middle of the highway and then started to take off. The tractor trailer behind them couldn't stop in time and killed the old man. Slipping in the shower, my daughter had a severe concussion with 2 brain bleeds. She had personality change as well. She went from a mild-mannered, well-behaved child to a kid that would fly off the handle over absolutely nothing. She couldn't make the simplest decisions. If I asked if she wanted, say, Sprite or Coke to drink, she would have a full meltdown, not knowing which to choose. One night, she was sitting next to her brother, and she tore off upstairs crying. We immediately assumed her brother did something, and he swore he hadn't. She was in her room crying for no apparent reason. She would have those full meltdowns out of the blue. Again, my kid was the most easygoing, well-behaved kid. Never had to scold or get after her. I would have 10 of her if I could. But it was like a switch flipped, and now we had a problem child. I was truly embarrassed, horrified to ask her neurologist when would I get my sweet-natured baby girl back, because it was something I was preparing myself for. I loved her either way, but I needed to know if this was permanent. He said it could last 3 to 6 months, and it did last about 6 full months. She never had anxiety before her accident, and she has been left with that lifelong struggle since, but it is much better than the terrible effects she faced after her accident. But honestly, this could have killed her. Oxygen-depleted atmospheres kill you way faster than, say, holding your breath until you drown. Fastest way to kill 2 to 3 people. One guy goes in and goes down, the next goes in to save him and also goes down. If the third witnessed it, they call for help. If not, in they go to, until the pile gets big enough to scare the next person into calling 911. All because inside that sealed metal tank, all the oxygen has bonded with metal to form rust, and there's no oxygen left. Someone explained to me it's based on chemical equilibrium in the cells. If oxygen in the body is depleted, then oxygen-poor red blood cells absorb oxygen from the lungs to deliver to the body, to maintain oxygen concentrations evenly across the board. If oxygen in the lungs is lower, then red blood cells lose oxygen when they travel through the lungs and then draw oxygen out of cells when they pass by. 2 or 3 breaths, and your lungs empty all the oxygen out of your body. Inhaling too much helium. I worked at a party store, and we had someone rent a helium tank. We rented them by the week, and then every week after there was a charge done to your card immediately. After 3 months, we got a call from the renter's daughter asking if we could please stop charging her father's card. He had used the helium tank commit suicide the day he rented the tank, and we had charged him over $1,500 in the 3 months since. It became a huge thing, where we had to actively tell people once you fill your lungs completely with helium that the alveoli can no longer process oxygen correctly. So while it's all fun and games to have that squeaky voice, one super deep breath can end your life. Manipulations by chiropractors, and if the manipulation doesn't kill you, it can certainly cause paraplegia or quadriplegia, vertebral dissections. The sad part is that chiropractors will never own up to the fact, and they'll actually claim that patients are coming in with an active stroke. Unfortunately, a lot of their research is skewed. I would highly recommend looking into the American Medical Association, particularly neurologists, to see the detrimental effects that a chiropractor can have. It's unfortunate how many people die secondary to a chiropractic manipulations, particularly in the neck and back. The Great Lakes. Just this past weekend, people decided to go in the water near my house, even though the beach was under red flag warning and high waves. 3 got pulled out by a good Samaritan when they got in trouble. 3 days later, and Coast Guard and Fire Department still hasn't found the body of the 4th one. Riptides are real. Weather kicks up fast. The Great Lakes are huge and dangerous. This is not your local pontoon lake. Carbon dioxide. There's a show on Netflix where bartenders compete by making cocktails. Once in a while, they'll use dry ice for presentation. The smart ones keep it contained, separated, or removable. The less smart ones toss it directly in the drink, get DQ'd when the judges refuse to drink it, and usually get eliminated that round. The judges explain that even a small loose chunk can get caught in your throat, sublimate CO2 directly into your respiratory system, and suffocate you. That would be an exceedingly bad way to go. Hitting your head against a wall. My kids banged heads once while playing, came running to me. One was crying, and he had a little goose egg on his head. Fast forward a few weeks, the bump wasn't going away. Take him to the pediatrician, who is slightly puzzled and sends us to a pediatric neurosurgeon at the Children's Hospital. We have some scans, got a call to come back, which is never good news, and we're told he had a rare sort of cancer-type lesion in his skull, a year of chemo, and he was fine. This was 9 years ago. He's still doing great, but his oncologist said that injury has been reported with this type of cancer-like lesion. The way my brain processes it is that the cells that went to fix the injury just didn't leave properly and instead continued to grow abnormally. It's very rare, but still, it happened. Hitting your head against a wall. My kids banged heads once while playing, came running to me. One was crying, and he had a little goose egg on his head. Fast forward a few weeks, the bump wasn't going away. Take him to the pediatrician, who is slightly puzzled and sends us to a pediatric neurosurgeon at the Children's Hospital. We have some scans, got a call to come back, which is never good news, and we're told he had a rare sort of cancer-type lesion in his skull, a year of chemo, and he was fine. This was 9 years ago. He's still doing great, but his oncologist said that injury has been reported with this type of cancer-like lesion. The way my brain processes it is that the cells that went to fix the injury just didn't leave properly and instead continued to grow abnormally. It's very rare, but still, it happened. Horses, we've lived with them for so long that unless you spend regular time around them, you don't know just how unbelievably dangerous they are. It's a good thing they're so stupid, or we'd be fucked. Movies have people believing they're these docile creatures that live to serve humans. Those are the ones that have been trained extensively. They are otherwise 1,500 pounds of dumb panicky hair trigger muscle. Moving water. It's freaking dangerous. Water is heavy, so when it's moving it has a lot of energy. It might not feel too bad walking through knee-deep flowing water, but if you fall the water will have more area to push on. You may not be able to get yourself on your feet again. Bad or old ammo. Smokeless powder can degrade over time, especially if the cartridge is exposed to extreme temperatures or vibrations, making the gunpowder inside behave unpredictably. Might not have enough power to get the bullet out the barrel, creating a barrel obstruction, or it could create a pressure spike and blow up the gun. Always work with quality ammo, and don't buy Bubba's Piss in hot reloads from the gun show, even though they are cheap. Not taking your blood pressure meds, leaving high blood pressure unchecked. It's not always a dead in seconds type of thing, but if you leave your blood pressure high for a long time, it causes a lot of damage to your heart and blood vessels that will end up causing a stroke or heart attack or so many other problems. You're put at risk for getting an aortic aneurysm, which if it ruptures or develops into an aortic dissection, you can be dead in seconds because you will be bleeding out internally. Cold water shock, especially on a hot day. Diving into a cold body of water to cool off can seriously fuck up your heart and breathing. Your body can shut down unbelievably quick due to the cold shock. Every year, multiple people in my state die from diving into lakes and rivers on the first hot day of the summer. Those lakes and rivers are fed by mountains and glaciers and are barely above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The worst is when someone dives and they go deep enough to hit that part of the water that is 10 to 15 lower than the surface. They go into a kind of super shock and their body tenses up so much they can't swim or float. They just gasp, swallowing ice-cold water, then sink and drown instantly to the bottom. Fractal wood burning. It may look cool, but is incredibly dangerous and can kill you so easily. I'll link a video about this, but basically you're not dealing with regular voltage from an outlet. To do fractal wood burning, you use a microwave transformer to change the current from 120V or 240V to 2000V. Even experienced electricians have died attempting this craft. It is that dangerous even if you are knowledgeable. Small creatures they find in random places, especially the beach or in the woods. If you see a small creature and you don't know what it is, leave it alone, especially if it has bright colors. Having long nails in the medical field, it couldn't kill you, but patience. There is so much bacteria under your nails. There was a nurse who got her nails done who ended up actually killing a baby with the amount of bacteria under her nail. The ocean. Seems like common sense. It's not. So many people underestimate how dangerous the ocean really is. Once you step into the ocean, you're no longer at the top of the food chain. Plus, at least in Florida, riptides have been very common recently. Cat bites. Their teeth are very thin like needles, and oftentimes after a deep puncture, the top layer of skin closes, leaving infection trapped inside from all the bacteria in their mouths. If you ever get bitten by a cat, go to urgent care ASAP for antibiotics. Even if it seems fine at first, waiting even just a few days can lead to sepsis, which can be deadly. I work in veterinary medicine, and one of my coworkers almost lost her hand from a cat bite infection. Rabies. Not literally in seconds, but a very important thing a lot of people are unaware of. Once you begin showing symptoms, you are dead, period. Rabies has a 99% kill rate after the first symptom appears. The remaining 1% is some very low-chance experimental treatment. If you get bitten by an animal, get your shot. Get your shot. The only way of fighting it is preventing it before it reaches your brain. And, needless to say, dying from rabies is not a pleasant way to go. It is very much not pleasant. Dumping a ton of dry ice or liquid nitrogen in your swimming pool, especially an indoor pool. Either will rapidly turn to gas as their temperature equalizes with the water, ambient air. Either gas is heavier than air and will form a cloud that displaces oxygen near the surface. Once completely deprived of oxygen, you really only have a few seconds before you pass out. If you don't have someone to pull you out of the pool, cloud, you're done.